Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It's October 4th. This will be our chart listing for the day, and it was really downhill all day. It was kind of interesting here. Early on, we had this two-tiered channel. We had a break pretty quickly and a new low, and it looked like we might reverse out of here, and look how we kind of went sideways. Um, you got a channel working up, a break, a new high, and then we just kind of went sideways. But if you drew that trend line there, um, it fit across the bottom, so you can see a little channel working down, and then of course when it drops lower you say, hey, it's got to be probably a two-tiered channel. And so really what we did was we had a two-tiered channel working down. We had the break, a new low. It looked like we were going to reverse, which we did. It just didn't last very long. And then we started a new two-tiered channel back to the low side again, and you can see that's the brown channel, and you can see how that held prices neatly until we finally got a break here, well after 2 o'clock. So really there wasn't much. It really wasn't real safe trading much after really after about lunchtime here. I didn't mark much. You really could have went short here. Only problem is there's the low of the day, so you missed that. Now you've had your equal distance move, and you just kind of chop around, and it gets really late here. There's just really not another good setup. You could consider a trap right here and maybe go short on this one. I originally was going to mark it, but I never did. But you probably could have, or no problem, you could have gone short right there because there's a new high, and you're looking for, so you start working down. First entry long, and there's second entry. It's not really a failure, but you can still treat it like one. So you could have gone short right there. That late in the afternoon, I'm not sure I'd have taken it, but it does fit the rules. So, but let's back out, talk about the trades, and we'll wrap it up for the day. When I came in, we were working down here. We actually had already been working down, and we were just kind of going sideways. We got a close outside here, and we were trying to make a new low when I came into the office, and we finally made one here. Um, you got a break and a new low, and it is a failed break lower. Um, so really, this one is real close. You could really make this one blue. I generally like to wait on a little bit on a higher low, but we're far enough away from the EMA. You got all this support across here, so it's like a little failed break lower. So this one is borderline. It could be blue. I'm going to leave it green just because I like to wait on a higher low, which came here. And then we're right back into these highs, right into the EMA. So I was a little bit worried about that one. There is a trend line working up through here. I don't have it on there. Let me get it on there. And so I was a little bit worried about that one just for that reason. So I made it green as well. And then finally you get the failed second entry short right here, which is, it's right at the EMA. It's the first break of this little channel working up, and notice it's a second entry long too. It's not the most, it's more bullish than it is bearish, but it's almost a neutral bar, but it does close in its upper half, and it's a trap. So for that reason, I like it. Just for nothing else, because it's probably going to make a new high. But then we just kind of go sideways here, and notice what's happening. We're just starting to stack up kind of sideways. And so I think you got to stay out of this. You might consider this short right here, but really all you had was a little failed break lower. You did have a new high in place. Again, you're probably better off, you could make that one green. You're probably better off to wait on the lower high, which let me go ahead and change the color of this to green, which comes here, but it's too bullish of a bar. And then again, we just stack up. But notice what's happening. You can get a trend line now. And it's tempting to go short right here, but there's too much congestion, and you're probably going to get a pullback. So wait and see what happens. And look what happens. You get a breakout pullback short. This one still would have worked. I just don't think I'd take it. And this one is a failed second entry long. Notice the new high, first entry, pull back, second entry, and it just barely ticks higher and traps everybody. And that's where you want to go short on that trap. And you don't know it's going to do this, but look what happens. If you catch that one trade, it was worth sitting on your hands all that time. If you can catch if you caught any one of these to the downside, um, you'd probably had a good trade. You'd had to sit through all this, but if you catch this one, it's quick, easy, and look at it go. And it is a trap, and it is a breakout pullback short as well. Everything's under the EMA. That's a pretty nice setup, and man, that thing just goes. And notice too, we're just kind of going, we're below, above, and we're just kind of above and below the EMA. So you got to be thinking, hey, it could be a range day too. So, but when this takes off like this, and it bounces in an equal distance right off that low, then you know you probably got a two-tiered channel here. And of course, then you get the bounce. You bounce right back up. I'd like to look for a long out of here because sometimes you'll catch the low of the day, but it stacked up again. So there's a lot of congestion. There's a little breakout pullback long right there, but you don't get any tick lower that traps people or fools people. So it's a little iffy. I think you're better off to wait to here, and then you get this nice reversal bar and a close right in there, and that's your high or low. And of course it takes off here, and then you get your failed second entry short right here, which is really what you want to see. And it actually went lower and turned and went right out the other side. Just go long right there. There is a close right here outside the trend line, so you actually could have moved this over and adjusted a little bit by that time because it's catching all those up through there. I originally had it a little tighter and a little steeper, but that's really your first convincing close outside. And so I figure you're going to at least come back to the trend line. So you're trying to catch that back to the trend line, and it actually pushes right on through. So now you got a break of your trend or your two-tiered channel. So hopefully you'll get a retest for a low. So you're looking for shorts. And you could even consider this one right here because you got a little 2-bar matching high, and it breaks higher and closes way down here, and you're a long way away from the EMA. But if this one would have broke directly below, I would have said, yeah, we'd probably go with that one, but it didn't. And so now you're going sideways, and so it's a little bit iffy again. And look what happens. It breaks lower and it turns up. It doesn't make a new high, so you would have survived, but you never know if they can't run it up there and then it turns down. But here's your lower high, big bearish bar. Go short right there. Then you get your failed second entry long right there. That's your reversal pattern. Go short right there. And off it goes. And that's a great setup. And like I said, it's almost a repeat pattern of this. Notice how you start making lower highs down through here. Same thing, lower highs. It's kind of a repeat pattern. And so if you could just catch these two trades alone, or really any of these entries across here, even if you'd want the short right there, you catch this all the way to the bottom. You may not have got a runner on that one, but any of these other two, you'd have caught a runner, and you can ride that down. I would exit down here when it started bouncing. Even though it went lower, I wouldn't hang on and risk that. And I don't think I'd go short out all that congestion right across there. Yeah, it shot down and would have worked, but you never know. So, and then of course, now you got your break of this and a new low. You got your break of your bigger two-tier channel, a new low. So look for a lower high, and you get that right here. It really doesn't tick lower, but that's a bullish bar right off that kind of trend line right there off those closes. And it's a lower high than that one, real bullish. You're probably going to at least come back to here and at least maybe back to the EMA, but you should at least come back to here at some point and test this because that's the breakout area, but it just pushes right on through. So you would have had a runner here, probably even here, but then it pulls back and gives you your failed second entry short on your reversal pattern and takes off again. And at this point, you're hoping maybe you're catching the low of the day, but it just keeps on. But we get a break, we get a close outside here, and this is a double test of this level right here. I don't have a line on there. It's a double bottom, basically. You could almost call that a triple bottom. Um, it's a breakout pullback long of that little area right there. Nice bullish bar. So you're going to just make sure you got room to get out before here. Uh, we've already had the break in a new low, so we could get a reversal completely, but it's a nice move, but it just tests this high again and sells off instantly. Um, Again, you've got a break and you're way away from the EMA, but you don't know that there's maybe not a little bigger pattern here. So again, I'm hesitant. I think you're better off to wait on a lower high. Again, you probably could make it green because those are high probability when you're that far away from the EMA, especially when your uptrend shorter term is played out. But and also the fact that you've got a double top already up here. So you might be, if you want to be aggressive, you're better off to wait on your lower high. That comes here, but it's too bullish. And you get what looks like a failed second entry long here. It really is a failed second entry long. But by this time, you've got all this support across here, and you can't get short right into that, even though you got a trap there, because you're expecting, hey, we may get a reversal here. So you just can't take that one. Look at all that support across there. You can't get short right into that because this is what happens. It fails on you. And it runs back up, and you get a higher high here, so I don't really like going short there. And you don't get a lower high till here. Again, it's a big bar. It's right back into these lows. But when it ticks higher again and fails and gives you that, notice there's a new high there. It's higher than that high and that high. So it's a first entry, second entry, and you got plenty of room to get out before here. Now I like it. And of course it runs down and it does go on through, but it kind of goes sideways and bounces off this major low again. But you should be looking at this bigger channel. You should have drawn that, and if you drag it down, it fits really well down here. You can see that. And so just look, let's just wait and see if it comes back. And it does, and it turns down, big bearish bar right off that again. It's a first entry, but that's a key entry point. There's a lot of resistance across there. There's the trend line when that confirms it. There's a lower high here, but again, you're kind of going sideways in there. That's a neutral bar, doji, so it's a little risky, but there is room to get out before here, and it does look like there's another channel here. And so there's some reasons to consider that one. But look what happens. It bounces there again, comes back, and it turns down. It makes another lower high right off the trend line. So I like that one. Once it doesn't go anywhere, I wouldn't add on again, that's for sure. But I still liked hanging on to see if it would drop on down and get through there this time and go to the lower side. And lo and behold, it just pushes right on through. There's a breakout pullback short there and a lower high, but then you get your failed second entry long there, and so now you probably got people trapped. And if you drew that trend line off that side, drag it over, it fits perfect. Go short right there. And you're really only looking for it to come maybe to here, but it shoots on through, pulls back, tests it, and that's what you want to see. If you think if it's a legitimate midline, it's probably going to push through it and pull back and test it and then go lower. But you don't really get an entry there. Again, it's going sideways. And it could just be an overshoot, and so I don't see a good way to enter this next one right here. You might have considered it, but once you made this bar, I definitely wouldn't enter. And so if you entered after this one, maybe, but I was a little leery of it. So, and of course you bounce and you're working back up. You get an overshoot, which leads to a break. You're looking for a new high here, and so this is tempting to go long, but you got a double top there, a lower high there, so you don't have a lot of room. I'm willing to make that one green if you can get in with enough room to get out before that double top. That'd be the only way I'd enter there. It works, but you don't know that. So, I mean, a lot of times it'll run up and test this and turn down. And so it is also a second entry long. That's a double top, so you can count it as a new high. Pull back first entry, pull back second entry. It's a little failed break below that double bottom. You're looking for it to make a new high maybe, but you had an overshoot too, so you don't always get a new high. And then it runs up, of course, and makes a new high and turns down. And the old midline comes back into play. You can see that there. You're better off to wait on a lower high, and again, you just end up going sideways. So just wait, and then, of course, it starts working down. You finally get a close outside right here, and that's a failed second entry long. Notice the new high, first entry, and that's kind of a measured leg down. Second entry, it fails, and it's not a great signal bar, but it is a trap. And so you might use a limit order there, and if it would have gotten you filled way back up here, it wouldn't have mattered either way. You're looking for it to test this low again on this trend line right here. And it actually does make a new low and reverses. And that gets you into the 2 o'clock hour, so not much else happening there. So yeah, just to recap, you got a nice two-tiered channel working down the blue one. You get the close outside, move to a new low, and then you get, generally what you're going to get is you're going to get a correction that lasts at least an hour. And this one started around 10, a little after 10 o'clock, and it went to about a little before 11 o'clock. So really we didn't start going down till here. So this is considered a correction. A correction doesn't necessarily mean that you go the other direction. It just means you're not going to go down much anymore, and that's kind of what happens here. And then we start working lower again, and it really takes off right here after a little more than an hour. And so at this point, you've got a new trend working lower from here, and you can see the two-tiered brown channel that's working. It starts over right there and works lower. I don't quite have that in the right place. And it plays out as well. You get a break here. It never really makes a correct. We run out of time basically. So yeah. And notice back here, while it's working down here, we're above the EMA, below it, above it, below it, above it, below it, above it. When it's like that, you can trade it both ways, even though it's a downtrend. Just make sure you follow the rules, and that, you know, the odds are it's going to swing from the high to the low, back to the high, back to the low, back to the high, back to the low, and so forth. Here we are, high to the low, to the high, to the low, to the high. And nothing's ever written in stone. You can come up like here. We came from the high all the way to the low, and we only got back to the EMA, and we didn't get back to the low here. Came back to the EMA again, and we still couldn't get back to the low. That tells you it's probably going to reverse soon. And the other thing here, notice this. Let me show you this real quick. A lot of times people will say, how do you know it's going lower here? And why are you favoring the short side? Look what's happening. We're making lower highs all the way down here. And we're really kind of making lower lows or equal lows. So when you start making these lower highs, that's giving you a clue that we're probably going to go lower. So keep that in mind. Just like right here, notice how we made a lower high and then we finally pushed down. Same thing here. Lower high, and then it finally sells off. So keep that in mind. That's one of the clues that you can use. And then look at the EMA starting to turn down here too. Look how flat it was, and it's starting to turn down till it sells on off. And from here on, it's downhill, and we're mostly below the EMA. So you got to be careful about buying. Notice there's one green one there, and that's only because there's a trap and you're looking for a retest there. And I really don't recommend that trade that late in the day. So that's the reason I didn't originally have it marked. So anyway, that's what I saw today. I'm not going to beat around the bush anymore. I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.